Amari Cooper in concussion protocol. Not sure if he'll be able to go. He's been the Browns' most consistent wide receiver. After that, it's been really uneven. What have you thought about the Browns' pass catchers? We'll include tight ends, but wide receivers, tight ends.
It's just not as impactful as it needs to be outside of Cooper. I mean, you mentioned, I know that's an answer that everybody kind of has been talking about for a while in Cleveland, but that's why we were so excited about Cedric Tillman in Cleveland, because we felt like there was a pretty easy path to playing time, and there wasn't really that type of receiver on the roster. Cooper can do a lot of different things. He can be an on the line of scrimmage, an X type of a receiver, but he also works really well as an off the line of scrimmage, as a flanker, a guy that you can move in motion, a guy that you can play from the slot as well as the outside. So you want to have the flexibility to move Amari Cooper wherever you possibly can, because he's that good of a receiver. But you need to anchor it with a guy who you can play on the line of scrimmage at any time, because of the rules of how many guys you got to have on the line of scrimmage. And obviously you don't want to put somebody on there who can't handle press coverage, who can't handle that kind of bump and run coverage or anything like that. So to me, Cedric Tillman is somebody who, he's been getting a decent amount of playing time. I think, the PFF grades are a little bit lower. He's somebody who's still coming into his own, but he's somebody who, when I go into, okay, what could this Cleveland roster be next year, I factor in him taking a pretty decent jump and thinking, okay, now you got these two guys, and I expect them to probably draft somebody as well who can come into this receiver room, because it has not been impactful enough beyond Amari Cooper.
All right. Along those lines, I know you've done a mock draft for Pro Football Focus as well. Take us through who makes sense there and what you like about him and what he does. It's Ladd McConkey from Georgia.
Yeah, obviously, Cleveland's not picking until the second round. So there's a lot of really great receivers in this draft, but thankfully for them, it's also a very deep draft. Now, McConkey is a smaller player. He's around 5'11", 6 feet tall, 185, 190 pounds. And you look at him, you go, okay, this is just strictly a slot receiver. But he's really more than that. I mean, he's a fantastic slot receiver because of the great body control that he has, the diverse route tree that he can use, how he manipulates those two-way go options when he's going up against defenders that give him a lot of space. I mean, he's been fantastic in that regard. But there are also times, and there were some Alabama corners who were quoted before this week who were talking about the Georgia receivers, and they were talking about McConkey, and they were like, hey, truly, you look at this guy and you go, okay, he's not going to burn me deep. And then all of a sudden he's even with you, and then he's getting by you. You go, wait a second, hold on here. So he is somebody who I think is more of what they wanted Elijah Moore to be. And not to say like it's totally over for Elijah Moore, but to me, that's the type of player that Ladd McConkey is, that they still need. They need that consistent guy who is a slot receiver for you, but can also be a consistent vertical threat. So that's why I think he makes a ton of sense for them in the second round.